So some of you might know who this guy is. His name is Sam Holmes, and unlike me, he's an actual sailor, and on some pretty small, might I even say mildly decrepit boats over the years.
The more I'm suffering on the boats, the better people are enjoying them.
Yeah, that's the trick.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me.
Akiva.
Oh, dog in the way. Dog in the way.
Excuse me, Akiva.
I did a Hobie Cat from Miami to the Bahamas, and that was a little bit of a suffer fest, at least when I got there. And then the little boat to the Hawaii. But like, I'm having a good time too. You know, it's like a little bit of both, right? So
yeah.
I think they like that. You know, if I was just suffering, it wouldn't work. You got to be enjoying it too.
So as someone who's done a bunch of passages on smaller boats, and most of them single-handing, any advice for us as we're getting ready to try to run north this year and do some bigger miles?
I mean, I think you'll have a lot of fun, like in the Gulf Stream, like seeing how you can get the speedometer to go on your boat, and just that current really helps a lot, you know. And now that you're doing an autopilot, I think that's going to be a big game changer. Advice? I don't know. I mean, I think you got a good boat, and you've kind of worked your way up to it, and you've done your first passage over to the Dry Tortugas. I mean, that's kind of where I say I like the Dry Tortugas and up the East Coast. So as long as you just got to watch the wind, you know, if it goes against the current. My advice would just be to kind of work your way out of the Gulf Stream. Maybe go towards Savannah or something. I did have that happen. The forecast was looking fantastic, and then it just didn't. All of a sudden, there was no wind, and then the wind was coming from the other way, and then 30 minutes later, it was like 20 knots, and the waves got steep pretty quick. But I think you'll do fine. It's just heaving too is a good strategy. I would probably test that out.
Yeah, we got to practice that in Arabella. We haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, it's always worked great for me.
Nice.
I think I hand steer like in the last year. I was thinking like a few hours, maybe once you add it all up. Yeah, like the first thing I do is set up the autopilot or the wind vane when I'm steering, and I just steer with the remote if I need to, or do a marina here or there with my foot. But yeah, I don't do much hand steering anymore. I'm not so good at it sometimes too, if I have to. I'm like doing these wavy courses. Of course, I'm usually only hand steering because like its conditions are too much for the auto Helms to keep up with.
Red, we've got two, black and red. Stays on each side. Well, that guy. I'm assuming that unplugs from right there. Yep. Okay. And that guy there.
Steve made the same good decision as he had in Key West of anchoring next to an electrician, and Bob was back on board to get the corroded factory plug out of there and have some Deutsch connectors put on between the battery and the motor.
So I'm going to go look for wire, my crimpers for these, and make sure we like what we're going to do before we snip.
He also helped straighten out what was going wrong with the navigation equipment and the new auto helm system put on in last week's episode.
Steering direction switched.
Oh, because we couldn't go full speed towards the shore.
Run standard auto tune. Run alternate.
Things were looking less promising for the eProp as Bob and Steve worked into the night.
So these are the two outside on the Y, right? And then we got, so it's...
But it's not reading...
So you've got still one mixed up, right?
E22 warning, yeah. All right, so I think I want to try something we've never done before.
Talk to me, Goose.
I think I want to anchor under sail.
All right.
It's really open here. We got Bob's boat as a marker. We're gonna go anchor by him. He drafts 4, he's got 2 underneath us, so if we stay on the deeper side of him,
Okay.
we should be good. We've got 16, 17 knots of wind right now, and we've got twin head sails in the mizzen, and the auto helm steering us. I just put the main away. I'm gonna unhook the auto helm and take over. I'm gonna have you furl the jib, and that's gonna drop us from the almost 6 knots we're doing now, probably to like 3 or 4.
Okay.
But I'll still have plenty of steerage.
Okay.
And as soon as the jib's away, you can go up and get the main anchor ready to drop.
Okay.
The line needs to be taken over the top of the shank.
Okay.
And then the white line on the cleat needs to get laced through.
Okay.
Don't forget to pull the rag. And you gotta undo the wraps on the 1/4-inch chain.
Yeah,
so
gotcha.
get that all ready.
Okay.
And I'll let you know, I'll churn up and I'll luff everything. I'll let you know to drop it. And then as soon as you drop the anchor, I'll drop the mizzen. And the staysail I don't think is big enough to really
worry
like
about.
sweat once the once the mizzen's down. I'll come up and we'll do the staysail.
We're whipping around.
Robin's friends were heading home, and fingers were crossed on the new connections made the previous night to the tender motor. And Bob left on his boat the next morning.
Safe travels! We're gonna miss you guys! I think we're going to go buy a gas outboard. I think I'm done with this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a source of stress. It's always hanging over our heads if this thing's gonna work or not.
Yeah.
And if the connections aren't gonna, like, I don't know what the right words are, but stay tight and work. Yeah. Meanwhile, poor Akiva is the real victim here. We're coming, buddy.
Is that good? Yep.
Oh wow, yeah. That whole thing out there too.
As they get bigger, as you go out with the little ones.
Yeah. Super interesting. That was a lot of fish. That's a ton of fish.
No, no bird is stupid, except for grackles. Yeah, you can kind of see it flying. Oh, it's yellow-chested. Oh, it's probably a warbler. Maybe. A little tiny.
All right, it's going.
There's our anchor.
I filled my whole player mat.
Dug right in.
Lots of mud.
In Marathon, Bob and I stayed up late one night, thank you, Bob, and got these Deutsch connectors wired on. And they worked for a couple days, and then Robin and I got to Key Biscayne, where we are now, and her friends came in to meet us, and we got the tender loaded up and ready to go get them, and it wouldn't work. So what had happened is these data pins, these data wires, are really small. And we use these Deutsch connectors. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that quite right. These came pretty highly recommended when we asked for suggestions, and Bob had some on his boat that we could use, so definitely worth the shot. And these pins go on. And the problem is these wires are so tiny that we're having a hard time really crimping them and getting them to stay on the pins. And then with the way these connectors go together, it's just a lot of wiggling, and those wires out the back are not super well supported. So I think if this was a connection that we were undoing a couple times a year or something like that, this would work great. I think for what we're doing, we need something that is a bit more robust. So if you flip over the eProp battery and void your warranty, like we did, you take these screws out, and the top just lifts off. So thankfully, these are all just push connectors. So here's our chip that tells everything what to do. Here's our battery. And these are just quick connects as well. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 little plugs, and they all just unclip, pull apart, and the lid will totally come off. And we wired into these. So we put on new push connectors with longer power cables, and we tied into the data cable here. So instead of having a flush mount plug, we've got a pigtail that we can work with. We'll get heat shrunk and that extra wire tucked down inside the battery. Cable gland snug down, and now we can put whatever we end up figuring out for a connector on the end of this. And when that connector corrodes and goes bunk, because in this environment it will someday, we'll be able to just loosen up the cable gland, pull out a little bit more, cut back the heat shrink, put a new plug on, and do that many times before we need to worry about rewiring it. Now, if eProp sold the plug that goes into the battery here, I could literally switch that out in the amount of time it would take me to remove the screws, unplug those 8 connections, plug in the new 8 connections, screw in the cap, and screw in the battery. So you're talking, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, like really not a big job. But I can't find that plug that would go in the battery. So since we can't seem to get our hands on replacement plugs, that's not really an option. So we're halfway there. We hacked the battery side of it. That was really easy. And now we just need to figure out some better plugs. Major thanks to everyone who sent in suggestions for the auto helm. But by the time I shot me having the issues and then met up with Doug and Ben got the video edited, we had already got a solution figured out. But if I'm unhappy with the solution that we have, I've got a lot of great options that we can kind of look at if this doesn't end up working out. So having plans B, C, D, E, and so on, I'm always a big fan of. Thank you so much to Doug and Bob for helping me get the autopilot situated. Without Doug's assistance with the metal and the shop, and without Bob's assistance with troubleshooting some of the electrics and getting that figured out, I don't know if we would have the auto helm. And we've used it 2 days now for a couple short jaunts, just testing it out under sail and motor, and I've been really happy with it. So far so good, and we got some big miles coming up, running our way up the East Coast back north, and it's gonna make a world of difference. It's gonna be huge. I'm really excited for it. So thank you to everyone who helped make that a possibility for us. It's really gonna open up a lot of doors for Robin and I, covering some bigger miles and not just doing these little day hops as much. So how'd you come up with the name The Pickled Herring?
Okay, so my last boat was Swedish fish. I'm half, like, my heritage is like half Swedish. So I think my mom came up with the Swedish fish. And then I was just thinking another Scandinavian food, pickled herring.
Nice.
It's funny, I didn't used to, I could tolerate pickled herring, but I didn't really like it that much. And then I met my fiance, and she was Norwegian, and I started eating more pickled herring there. Now I love this stuff.